the moment that he pulled me aside and said, "Hey man, you ever think you and I can just chat about stuff?" And he pulls down this binder and I'm like, "Hey bro, what's that?" And you're like, "Oh, this is my binder where everything I learn I put inside this binder. So when I'm a head strength and conditioning coach, I'm going to have everything in this binder." I was like, "Dude, this guy is special. This dude is beyond his years. And this guy at a young age, which you've now done, is going to make his own freaking mark beyond these national championships that he's won at Alabama."
I should pull it. It's right over here over my shoulder in my office. So I should pull it back out.
Welcome back to another episode of The Burn. I am Ben Newman, and you know how we do this every single week. We're going to bring you a story of an athlete, an entertainer, a celebrity, somebody from the business world who helps us understand that why and purpose is not enough. There's this underlying burn that ignites your why and purpose and causes you to show up on the days you don't feel like it, and especially after you win. I have said this many times that I get excited for certain episodes. And this is an episode that I'm very, very excited to have my dear friend Tyler Owens with us today, especially coming off of the heels of our episode with Coach Cochran just a couple of weeks ago. And we're going to fast forward this one and get this one out because I have been waiting a long time for this episode. I want you to consider something. You've heard me tell a lot of stories about individuals in the world of football. And I've been blessed to build some amazing relationships with champions in the game of football that help me get better in the things that I've been blessed to do in my life. And I've shared resumes like Scott Cochran's, resumes like Terry Jones at Alabama, who played at Alabama under Bear Bryant, went on to play for the Green Bay Packers and came back to win championships as a strength coach at Alabama. But when you see Tyler and you see how young this guy is, and this damn guy hasn't aged since I met him in 2017, which is crazy with how hard he's attacking life and the players he gets to work with. Listen to this resume. How about a young man who goes and walks on at the University of Alabama and earns his stripes and becomes a national champion as a player at Alabama? Then this young man goes on to become the number 2 behind Coach Cochran on that Alabama strength staff to then win national championships as a coach. And then I'm going to give you a little secret that I'm not going to share yet with a question that I asked him where I knew there was no doubt in my mind he would be running his own program. But this happened younger than most ever get the opportunity as a result of who he was and how he always attacked being a champion. He went on to the University of Arizona with Jed Fish to turn around arguably one of the worst programs in all of college football. And we're going to talk about that story, but there was no doubt in my mind that he would flip that program. And I'm grateful that he was not in Manhattan, Kansas to play us this year. And he took the job at Washington before we had that chance. It would have been great to see him across the sideline. But now the head strength and conditioning coach after an amazing job at Arizona as the head for the Washington Huskies. So Tyler Owens, what an unbelievable resume. I think he's about 19 years old now. He just does not age. So brother, I love you, man. And this is a long time coming. Welcome to The Burn.
Yeah, man, fired up. What an introduction. I appreciate that. But yeah, I mean, this has been a long time coming, and for sure I'm excited to get on here and talk through some things.
Well, I want to go back to just your passion and sacrifice you made to play the game of football, you know, to go and to do the things that you did as a player. Where did your work ethic come from? I mean, I've watched you. I could go in and on just on how I've observed you and me knowing like this guy's going to run programs and do big things. Where did that fire and passion to be a great player, to be a hard worker, and to be a leader, where did that come from for you?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, it started with my parents. Since I was a little kid. I mean, I started playing football when I was 4 years old. So from then on, I think I just learned that, my dad always told me, you can do anything if you're willing to work for it. So I think just very early on, seeing the way my parents worked to give me a life that I was able to have, and do the things I was able to do. And then also just, the fortunate opportunities I had to be surrounded by such great people. I mean, I got to work with you and see, your willingness to serve other people and help our football team really with no strings attached. You had no other value except just to try to help a bunch of young men on our team. And then, obviously Coach Cochran, getting to work for him, getting to be a part of Coach Sabin's teams, and even Coach Ballou my last year over at Alabama. I think just getting to be surrounded by such great people, I think success leaves clues, and you get to look at people around you and see the successes they had and what got them there. I think there was a common denominator that everybody that I was around worked their asses off to get where they were, and I thought, that's one thing that I could control. And so just getting to be surrounded by such great people, I think gave me great examples of what I could accomplish if I was willing to do the same thing.
All right. I hope everybody heard something because I'm going to come back to it. It was a perfect foreshadow for the special question. He still doesn't know I'm going to ask him. T.O. just said that success leaves clues. I want you guys to remember that. Success leaves clues. Going and playing at the University of Alabama, what was that like being a player for Coach Sabin before we talk about going back and coaching?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was high expectations and high demand. And I think it was one of the more awesome times of my life. I didn't really know what was going to happen with college football. I kind of was a late bloomer in terms of success on the football field. I was playing a lot of sports growing up. Uh, Finally, kind of focused in on football my last year of high school, and really all my opportunities came late. And by happen chance, ended up at Alabama. And I walk in the door and you look around and you see Dante Hightower, you see CJ Mosley, you see first round NFL linebackers, and you're like, wow, I got a long ways to go if I ever want to be close to, doing anything here. So I think, initial when I walk in the door was a little bit of a shock and awe moment. And then once you get settled in, you recognize, what it takes and the expectations of Coach Sabin and the program, and you really try to live up to those daily. And I think what you learn each year, and being a part of that program is stuff that certainly has carried me the rest of my life and through my coaching experiences, just through all the things. So I think it was an awesome experience. And really, I could go back to high school, middle school, and growing up as a kid. I tell people this all the time is like, honestly, my dad, I felt like was as hard on me as Coach Sabin. And so I think for me, like it may have been a shock to some people, or a huge learning curve for some people. But honestly, the way my dad challenged me and pushed me was very similar to how Coach Sabin pushes and challenge all of us being a part of his team. So it was a cool and great experience, and obviously fortunate to be around some really good teams and players.
I have to bring this up because many people have heard me say it, but I want to hear your perspective on it. I'll never forget walking into the Malmore football complex for the first time ever. And 2017, I'm interviewing with Coach Cochran that day and Ginger Gilmore. And you just walk into the building, and it was almost like you could feel the expectation. I've said that so many times, and I want to hear it
100%.
from your perspective. Like literally, I felt like I walked in, I was accepted, blessed with the opportunity that Coach Cochran and Ginger and Coach Sabin offered me. But the expectation, I mean, you literally feel it in the building. Where do you think that comes from? How do you think they were able to establish that?
Yeah, I think Coach Cochran talked about it on his episode last time when he talked about there was just alignment from Coach Sabin all the way down to him and all the way through Ginger in the training room and Jeff Allen and the entire building. I think there was no stone unturned. I mean, everywhere you went, the expectation, the attention to detail, and the focus and the standard of what we wanted to get done there was aligned across the entire building. So I think just having that, there was nowhere to like hide, nowhere you could go that expectation wasn't there, that standard wasn't there. So I think because of that, you feel that when you walk in the building, because it was an environment that was created through the alignment of the program, and just everybody in there had one belief, and it was to try to make everybody a champion. And they believed if we could make everybody a champion, that we could win a championship. And I think because of that, no matter who walked in the building, you felt that environment. You felt that because of the environment Cochran created in the weight room, the environment Jeff Allen created in the training room, and then the environment Coach Sabin created in the overall program. So I think just top to bottom, the alignment that was in the program was what the environment you felt when you walked in the door.
Yeah, it's such a great way to describe it, and it sucks you in, and you just want to stay. I mean, you don't want to leave, which is what ended up happening for you. And I think back to Terry Jones and that long historied career, Jeff Allen and his longevity, Ginger Gilmore and her longevity, Coach Cochran. What was it for you that caused you to say, I'm not leaving this place, and I'm going to lean in, and I want to coach, and I want to remain part of this program? When did you know that you wanted to continue in that capacity?
Honestly, I figured out I wanted to be a strength coach going into my senior year of high school when I went from 185 to 215, 220 pounds, and I just saw what it could do for somebody. And then obviously walking in the door and Coach Cochran being your head strength coach when you're a freshman in college, and honestly another great mentor of mine is Mark Hockey, who's down at the University of Florida. The environment they created in the weight room and just the passion, the energy, the excitement they created when you walked in the door and made it a place you wanted to be. There's a lot of college football players that may not like lifting, running, they love playing football, but the environment they created and how fun and how much energy it was to lift weights and train and prepare and just what they could do mentally and physically for kids was something special. And I think it drove me to want to be in the role that I'm in today. And so I think just everything they did for me, and then also just watching them the way they attacked each day and what they did for the program and all the guys on our football team. I think it was something special, and it was something that I definitely wanted to take part in and try to do the same thing for the guys that I work with now.
Let me take people back to some observations now, because I just think it's incredible hearing you talk about being a player, hearing you choose to go back and to be a coach, and having the highest level of success. I mean, becoming a national champion at both as a player and as a coach. I want to go back and paint this accurately, because you gave the perfect foreshadow. Success leaves clues. How many times, and I'm speaking to the listeners now, how many times do you see somebody's success story? You see people do things, and you read a book and you just take it in. Wow, what a story. Or you watch a movie and say, wow, what a great movie. What an inspirational story. I knew that Tyler Owens was going to have the success that he's having as a head strength and conditioning coach the moment that he pulled me aside and said, hey, man, you ever think you and I can just chat about stuff? And I went into his office for the first time, and I'll never forget. He reaches and he pulls down this binder. You maybe thought I forgot. And he pulls down this binder, and I'm like, hey, bro, what's that? And you're like, oh, this is my binder where everything I learn, I put inside this binder. So when I'm a head strength and conditioning coach, I'm going to have everything in this binder. Man, it's given me goosebumps, T.O., because I remember sitting in your office that first time at Alabama. You probably thought I forgot. And I was like, dude, this guy is special. This dude is beyond his years. And this guy at a young age, which you've now done, is going to make his own freaking mark beyond these national championships that he's won at Alabama. So there you go. There's your magic question you had no idea I was going to ask. What caused you to do that? Because that was one of the most intentional acts for you to show up that way. Not reading a book, great movie. You literally said, I am a lifelong learner, and I'm not going to let anything go by me. What caused you to do that?
Yeah, I mean,
You
honestly,
surprised I remember that?
yeah, no, that's crazy. Actually, I should pull it. It's right over here over my shoulder in my office, so I should pull it back out. No, funny enough, really the biggest thing is I realized long ago I'm not that smart. So if I'm not that smart, I better have a good way to figure things out along the way to try to get it right. So honestly, I just figured out, hey, if I'm not very smart, how can I get this right along the way? And so I was just like, the best way I think is just try to learn from other people. And I figured out real early on I don't have all the answers. And I'm not going to know everything, but the best thing I can do is try to watch the people around me and figure out what they've done to be successful. And obviously you see the great successes of Cochran and the Alabama program and all the other coaches that I was fortunate to be around. And I was like, these guys had unbelievable success. So, there's obviously something they're doing right. So if I can take just a little bit of what they've done and apply it to whenever I get the opportunity, I think I could have some great successes as well. So honestly, it was just me trying to figure out the way when I was a young strength coach and really didn't know much and really just trying to use every opportunity I could to learn and take advantage of being surrounded by great people and great environment and great coaches and take everything I could to learn from them because I knew that I didn't have all the answers. So just something I still try to do to this day, that's for sure. But it's crazy you remember that because I think back to those times. Matter of fact, probably in those same moments, I was probably a month or two ago listening to some videos that are some voice recordings that you had
Mhm.
sent me around the same time of just different encouragements and different things that we had talked through and discussed of how to prepare the guys and different meetings you had had with some of the guys on the team and some of those same conversations we had had in the office. So funny you brought that up because not just recently I was listening back to some of those voice recordings that we had in that office during that time period. So pretty cool to think back on.
Well, it's been awesome watching you take advantage of opportunity and be prepared for opportunity. I want to bring up one other thing, and this is me speaking directly to the listeners again, because I think this is important, right? So if you pay attention, T.O.'s been in an environment to be successful since he was a kid. Then he embraces that at Alabama, goes on to become a champion, embraces and takes action, and was prepared by having that binder. But you also never know who's going to walk into your building. And so I have always have had and he's been on the show. We've done events together. I've always had a great relationship with Coach Ted Rath, who's a two-time NFL Strength and Conditioning Coach of the Year. We met when he was originally with the Rams. And the day that I met him, he and I had lunch with Jedd Fisch, who was working for the Los Angeles Rams. So
Wow.
would you believe that Ted Rath, after we build our relationship, leaves LA, goes to the Eagles? I one day said, Ted, man, I think you and Coach Cochran would hit it off. You need to go to Alabama. So Ted has a trip where he goes to Alabama and had an amazing day with T.O. and Coach Cochran and the amazing Jeff Allen. And they just embrace him into the program. Little did Tyler know that Ted Rath may one day give me a referral for an interview. And the way that you carried yourself that day, I remember when Ted called me and he said, hey, man, Jedd Fisch called me and he's looking for a head strength coach. I turned in T.O.'s name. I'm like, damn right. I said, you're not going to find anybody better than Tyler. And he's ready. And he said, I knew he was ready the day I met him.
Mm.
And I just think that's good for you to hear because you deserve it. But I think it's special for the listeners to hear that you can't be prepared when you hear that there's a job opening. You have to prepare yourself over a lifetime. And you did that. And then Jedd Fisch obviously brings you down to Arizona, which extraordinary turnaround. I'm going to let you tell it because how hard was it to literally go from the number one football program in the history of college football, where we were blessed to work all those years,
Right.
to literally going to a team that was arguably at the bottom of college football? I mean, what were they, 0-20 over a couple of years?
20. Yeah.
What was that like for you to mentally embrace that? And then I want you to do me a favor. Please don't hold back from how proud you are of the young men who took ownership there and how you and Coach Fisch and the other coaches helped them flip what they believed to do what you guys did last year. I don't want you to hold back. Please don't be humble. I want you to tell the story because I think it's important for people to hear.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I think this is one of the more incredible things I've been fortunate to be a part of. And, literally, I believe I was in the locker room with you, whatever it was, January the 10th or the 11th. Uh, and we beat Ohio State. It's a night game. And, I leave and we just completed the COVID season and we were whatever it was, 14-0, 15-0, and hadn't lost a game. And was one of the more, as you remember, remarkable seasons to be a part of with just the player leadership and just overall teams and what those guys accomplished. And then to the very next morning, we get back to the hotel at 2 a.m. to get on a flight at 6 a.m. to fly to Arizona and join a team that was 0-20. And so literally go from 15-0 to an 0-20 team and walk in that locker room and walk in that building and feel the differences and feel the challenges ahead, I think was remarkable. And just the challenges that were in front of us as a staff and what we had to do to turn that place around. I think there was many frustrating days, nights, months, and just never really knew it if you could do it. And I think, I think just listening back to yours and Cochran's episode, and it was truly a day by day. You couldn't try to predict the future, and you couldn't really think back to your Alabama moments because then you get frustrated. And I think you try to take those lessons and apply them. But I think it was truly a day by day. And that first year going 1-11 and really not knowing what it's going to look like. And really, obviously you start questioning, you start doubting, you start trying to figure out things and, to fight to getting our recruiting class in there. Cause if you didn't know, we got there after signing day that year in 2021. So we kind of already missed out on filling the roster up. So we make it through the first year, 1-11. It was one of the more challenging seasons I've been a part of. Just had a lot of things going on, and obviously from an 0-20 program to getting there with a roster kind of already set in stone, and just trying to, lay the standards and lay what you want the program to be about, and not focus on the results, which is something we always talked about at Alabama, is just trying to live to the standard. And if you could make champions, that you'd win a championship. And, really that's what that year had to be about. You had to be blind to the result, and you had to divorce the outcome and just be in the moment. And I think you get through that first year and you evaluate everything that you felt like you did well. And you go into year two with, some of the guys that you brought into the program. And I think you had highs and lows that year. I think we go 5-7. And I think you start seeing about midway through that season, you start seeing a turn of the guys believing, the guys trusting in what you've asked them to do. And they start seeing the benefit and the value and how much better they're improving physically and mentally. And the success starts to come a little bit. And, I think going into that off season of year three, I think you truly felt a team that was 100% fully bought into what we had asked them to do. And, I knew going into that football season, I told everybody in the building, I said, if we don't win not 9 to 10 games, then we didn't do a good enough job as a staff. Because I said these kids are hungry. They do every single thing that we're asking them to do. They were the most willing. I mean, it was one of the more unbelievable teams I've been a part of. Because I wouldn't say that, if you looked at our roster, sure, we had some good players, but I mean, nobody coming out of high school on that roster was a 5-star. Nobody on that roster was, somebody that everybody talked about. I mean, T-Mac was one of the highest rated players, but outside of him, I mean, we had a bunch of guys that just came in and believed in the work and believed in the process of what we asked them to do. And they were able to see the benefit of that in year three. And what we were able to accomplish last year was strictly because of the guys' willingness and belief into what we asked them to do. And it was really unbelievable to be a part of, to win 10 games for just the fourth time in Arizona history. And, the things and the lessons that I learned over those 3 seasons are some of the most tremendous amounts of things I've ever learned in my life. And, I know you think you learn a lot being a part of Coach Sabin's programs and all the things that he did, and I certainly did. But I think the things you learn when you lose and through failure and through challenge and through obstacles, I think those are some of the greatest lessons. And I think that was one of the biggest things was like, Coach Saban always talked about never waste a failing. And I think that was one of the things we were able to do as we went through our process of trying to build that program. I think we never wasted a failing, and we carried over all those lessons through our 3 years there, and we're able to reap the benefits of it at that third year. And I think the kids did the same thing. And it was just really a fortunate team to be a part of, man. The kids, they didn't have to listen or buy into what we were saying and what we were preaching, the standards we try to put out there. And they did. And it was just one of the more remarkable seasons I've been a part of. So it was awesome to see.
And where did you guys finish in the country, your ranking?
I believe it was 10 or 11, somewhere in that. There was a couple of different ones, but 10 or 11.
I knew the answer, which means if everybody's listening,
right,
it wasn't last year, you would have been in the college football playoff. So I want anybody listening to think, it's one thing to be somewhere where you're a champion. It's another thing to actually embrace the adversity and then instill in others what it takes to be a champion and to empower and inspire them. not just to push weight in the weight room, which T.O. does with the best of them in the country,
That's right.
but it's the way that they've embraced the mental side. He and Coach Cochran have always made sure we're not just going to have these players strong physically, they're going to be strong mentally. And what you did with the program, they would have been in the college football playoff if it existed this year, is tremendous. And now give us a little bit of a landscape of being in Washington. You literally go Alabama, Arizona, you're hitting the whole country, to now be with Coach Fish, which is the ultimate level of trust, right? Because I want everybody to listen. You do a good job, you're rewarded. A lot of times in a program, a head coach goes somewhere, they do well. They don't take their whole staff, or they don't take certain, well, they did okay, but it wasn't what it was. One of those, I knew it. Well, okay, T.O.'s going with Coach Fish to Washington. So what's it been like at Washington, and what are you most excited about that lies ahead right now?
Yeah, and one thing I did miss out on that I want to jump back on real quick, and then I'll come back and answer your questions. One thing I just want to say is how much I appreciate you and Ted for the opportunity, and obviously talking to Coach Fish and referring my name, and I think that's one thing that I try to preach to everybody is like you just really never know. You really never know where opportunities could come from in life, and how critical it is just to appreciate every relationship and every person you come in contact with. And obviously I knew back at Alabama the special relationship we had, and then obviously you introducing me to Ted Rath, and the great relationship me and him had, and just never would have dreamed that that would turn into me being in Seattle, Washington as the head strength coach. So very, very appreciative of that, and just want to make sure I threw that out there, and I definitely don't take that lightly, and I'm very fortunate for that to have happened. But
well, it's family, and I've got your back forever, brother.
yeah, man, I appreciate that. So just moving into Washington, yeah. So obviously a unique, a completely unique experience relative to the Arizona time. We walked into an 0-20 program and had a lot of challenges cut out for us to now, following up a team and a team that went to the national championship last year. But in the great world of college football we live in now, transfer portal, all the different things that the two head coaching changes, obviously Coach Sabin retiring, leading to the kind of this effect here. I think each year, whether you're following up a national championship or you're still at the same program, I think each year almost turns into a rebuild because you kind of don't have the same roster because of the turnover. So with NIL and transfer portal and all the changes, and I think we got great challenges here. It's obviously a great program with tremendous history and great successes. That one of the few programs that have been multiple time in the college football playoff and played at a high level and won a lot of Pac-12 national or Pac-12 championships, to now being in the Big Ten. So I think we got a great challenge. Little things we were discussing about the craziness of college football, the travel, from East Coast to West Coast, and all of the above. So I think it's going to be a fun experience. I think this year, has been a great challenge for us. We're getting settled in. We're getting adjusted to the Big Ten travel. We only had 38 players returning from last year's national championship team to basically building a whole roster. So, I think it's a great challenge. And a lot of the lessons that we've learned throughout our time at Arizona and Alabama and all the previous things we've been through, we'll take to and try to build another program here and see what we can do. And I think it's going to be up for a great challenge, and it'll be a lot of fun.
Hearing you tell the story, it's amazing how all the pieces and everything unfolds. It's almost like Coach Sabin saying, T.O., I got one more challenge for you, because it's without him retiring, the entire picture of the challenge maybe didn't exist. So it's
right.
It's his way of always keeping a pulse on making sure that all of us who are blessed to learn from him realize that there's always challenges, and how you embrace them is how you build champions. And it's just been such a joy to watch you continue to grow, to attack from literally the moment I knew it, from that binder to conversations we've had, to the steak that you and I had at Mastro's with butter, your first butter cake experience, which, just like that Miami Dolphins episode of our docuseries, I love taking people for butter cake for the first time to celebrate you getting that Arizona job. Just so many great memories, and I look forward to so many more memories ahead. And it's just a blessing that we've continued our friendship over all these years.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, I appreciate everything that you've done for me. I mean, I still, every single morning, the first thing I do is I wake up and I see my text message from you, and just the word of encouragement, and just to be able to have that relationship and have and be able to reach out to you anytime, and just the lessons I've learned from you, and just really, I just remember back to one of the first few times. I remember, I think Cochran brought it up, was when we brought you in the room with all our players and you introduced the burn to our team, and really to me, was something really special that I think about all the time, and something that I use in my life daily, of just connecting to that burn and connecting to my why every morning, and your prize fighter mornings that you started over there with our team. I mean, I have my prize fighter morning, on my phone, and I think just the way that, locks you in on a daily basis to go attack and give your best, I think is something I've carried with me, since the day we've met. And I just appreciate all the encouragements and things you've helped me do, and obviously, again, the opportunity to be here and work for Coach Fish and the relationship we've had. So it's been fun. It's been awesome to be on here, and obviously continue to grow our relationship, and get better. So I
Well,
appreciate it.
so much more story for us to write together, and I just so blessed that finally able to get you here on the burn for an episode that was long overdue. I want to share a message. Before I do, I just want to say right back to you. It's a blessing for me to build relationships with individuals like you, where I can learn new things. I can learn a different level of intentional focus. I can see what it looks like to show up at that next level. And I've learned that from you, and it is definitely an iron sharpens iron relationship. I appreciate you mentioning all those things, but those are all things that we did together. And I just want to share this, and we'll get everybody on your way. And you better share this episode, because this one with Cochran and T.O., these are special episodes going back into the archives of what it takes to be a champion. But there's a lesson I teach often, and that lesson is depth over width. We live in a world where people are trying to move so fast, to do so much for just the whole world. I want millions and millions of followers on all these social media posts. And rarely do you have people who literally lock in at a deep level where they are with the people they're with, to learn as much as they can, to always be ready. And I think your story is a powerful story of that concept I've taught for years, which is depth over width. Go as deep as you can, build amazing relationships, and always be ready for your opportunity. So, T.O., much love, brother. I will always be in your corner, and appreciate you finally coming on the burn.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.
To each and every single one of you listening, make sure that you share this episode. Make sure that you are prepared for your next great opportunity in life. Make sure that you continue to attack. Make sure you don't live to the excuses, and just know, one day at a time, you have your opportunity to build the opportunity to be a champion. Until next week, this has been The Burn.